You need three things to start your own law firm. You need the ability to be a lawyer, you need cases, and you need money. So for every case you have to be able to budget. There's a lot of lawyers that don't have that cash on hand. They don't want to spend that money, and the client could suffer. And that's true with any business though, right? You need the knowledge and the skill, a customer base, or at least an idea of how to get customers, and then you need money for operating costs. So if somebody calls my office and says, I was involved in a really bad crash and I'm driving a 1990 something, 1992, 1999, you're probably really, really injured. If you call my office and say, I was in a 2000 and then I wait, is it 2002 or is it 2018? The closer it is to present day, the safer the car is. And the reason for that is over years and years and years, personal injury lawyers have been suing auto manufacturers in products liability cases, and car manufacturers have had to become safer. So one day cars are going to be essentially so safe that there's not car accidents that cause severe injuries. If you have an apartment complex and you know there's a danger, you know people are coming on the property for the purpose of committing a crime, and then that happens, and you don't do anything about it, we can actually file a lawsuit against the property. And our complaints were, you didn't have a working gate, you didn't have security, and then you drive by 2 months later and there's a gate, there's 24-hour security. And you realize that, hopefully that one case and that one person that was injured will be the last person. Business associations in Georgia spend millions of dollars every year to make laws and keep laws that benefit them and hurt ordinary people. The biggest lobbying organization, or at least one of them, is the auto industry. I mean, imagine if we made minimum coverage in trucking cases, for example, $5 million. When a truck hits somebody, they usually get very seriously injured because of weight and speed and power. For decades now, the minimum has been $750,000 that a truck must keep in terms of insurance in Georgia. The truth is, if you're injured in a car crash, you're probably gonna have a case worth something like $25,000. You either have a $25,000 case or you have a case that's much, much more valuable from a case perspective, but we have these huge gaps in coverage where 16% or so of Georgia drivers have minimum coverage. That's 1 in 5 and so chance. You're not gonna have enough insurance coverage from the other person to cover your injuries. If you go online and you look up an older lawyer, gray hair, no hair, you look at their biography on their website, it will inevitably say that they are an aviation lawyer. And I always wondered why all these people were aviation experts. Well, they're all aviation experts because in the 60s, 70s, planes were falling out of the sky. And one way that planes have become safer is lawyers kept suing maintenance companies, plane manufacturers, pilots, whoever. As a result, planes have gotten safer, especially smaller planes. That's kind of how I look at my job. If you're not gonna regulate yourself, then somebody's gonna get hurt, unfortunately, but then we have the ability to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Jurors connect really well with authentic people. If you're a jerk, be a jerk. If you're nice, be nice. If I try to be really, really nice and friendly, it comes off as cheesy and fake. If you are yourself, the jurors will know you're being real with them. Even if they don't like your personality or whatever, they know you're being honest. Imagine if the general manager of Best Buy was ultimately responsible for selling every TV, selling every refrigerator, whatever else they sell in Best Buy, that he's like in charge of every department. That wouldn't make any sense, right? I mean, the general manager hires people and it's their job then to execute within the departments. A law firm of my size, especially when it's your own law firm and you're the only partner, every decision is mine. Whether that's because I'm the only one who can make the decision or because I'm the one who has the information or has the money or has whatever. I'm ultimately responsible for every case in the law firm. It makes it really tough. You should call the police after you're in a car crash. Your insurance company's gonna ask you where's the police report, and then you wanna document what happened. Now, if you're in the city of Atlanta, fun fact, if you're not injured, they will not respond. That's a new post-COVID rule, but still call. Do you need to talk to a lawyer? Maybe. If you're hurt and you don't feel better, even if you're not injured for property damage reasons alone, you wanna call a police officer. How much do you usually pay a personal injury lawyer? Typically, it's somewhere between 33% and 40 to 45%, depending on the case type. For very difficult, complicated, expensive cases, that's when you get into the 40 to 45% range. Cases that are near the 33% mark are typically motor vehicle crashes, and cases that are closer to 40 or even 45% are usually products liability cases, negligence security cases where you're a victim of a violent crime or medical malpractice. Our client was a disabled older woman. She relied on a non-emergency medical transport company to take her to doctor's appointments. She had cancer. That non-emergency medical transport company didn't secure her properly. So she's in a wheelchair and the wheelchair is strapped to the floor, but she's not strapped in properly. So the van is driving down the road and another car comes and hits the van. The van tips over. She is thrown from the van and In that case, if you rewind 2 years ago, the defense was, we didn't do anything wrong. Totally wasn't our fault. Fast forward 2 years, they've paid $3.1 million. The evidence throughout the case showed they didn't seatbelt the person properly, that they violated all their standards and their rules and regulations. If they would have done what they were supposed to do, this never would have happened. Yeah, there would have been a crash. Yeah, maybe she would have been injured, but she'd still be here with us. So then in that case, our goal becomes to help her husband, help her daughter, help her son, and help her grandkids. Another student in a school. We get that call a surprisingly large number of times. Public schools have immunity. You cannot sue them, and there's only very limited circumstances that you can. This is a true story that we worked on. It's a case where a Cobb County teacher assaulted a student for about 3 years, from the time she was 15 through the time she graduated high school. Essentially, the teacher made up a club called the Drone Club. Didn't really exist, but he used that as an opportunity to continue to meet with the student after hours when he shouldn't have been allowed to. He was convicted and spent a couple years in prison. He was kept there for so long mainly because our client spoke up and kept writing to the parole board and saying, don't release him. So our client is in Statesboro, Georgia at a wedding with all her college friends. After the wedding, she goes back to the hotel room and all she wants to do is go to sleep. She wakes up and there's a guy naked getting in her bed. Doesn't know who he is, didn't invite him. Come to find out, this guy who had always had a crush on her gets really drunk, goes to the front desk and says to the front desk, hey, I'm in so-and-so's room. Can you give me a key? I forgot mine. No questions asked, no nothing. They give him the key. He goes up there, decides to take off his clothes, get into bed, and begins to who's at fault? He certainly is. He shouldn't have done that. But could that have been stopped? Yeah. Don't give a key to somebody whose room it isn't. So we sued the hotel saying that because you were negligent, because you did something unreasonable, and that is at least partially the reason why our client was injured. I'm gonna help you make more money. I'm Mike Rathey, and I'm a personal injury lawyer and business owner. If you're someone who's injured, have a family member or loved one that's injured, I'll hopefully walk you through some of the process of a personal injury case, give you some advice, share the strategies we used and have used over the last 8 years. If you're interested in personal injury cases, this is the page for you. If you've been in a car accident and an insurance company makes you an offer, you need to be careful about a few things. First is the easy one. Is it enough money? You don't really know that. What insurance companies typically do is right away they'll call you up and maybe make you a cash offer. Hey, we'll give you $5,000. They do that quickly because they want you to be willing to settle your case without knowing how bad your injuries are. The worst thing in the world that can happen is you go and you settle your case for however much money. But then 6 months later, you need some major surgery. You can't go back to the insurance company and say, hey, I'm actually still hurt. It was worse than I thought. I need more money. No, sorry, you already settled your case. This is what's really scary about people in my industry. You're a personal injury lawyer for generally one of two reasons. You worked at some place where you got great training, and then you have people that graduate law school, don't have a job, and say, what the fuck else am I gonna do? I now have the John Smith Law Firm. And if you market well enough, people are gonna go to the John Smith Law Firm. When they get there, if you're handling criminal cases, your clients may be going to jail when they shouldn't be. Those lawyers who open up shop right out of law school, some of them figure it out. I wouldn't bet on that though. So that's how you end up typically in my industry is you go to 3 years of law school, graduate and don't know a single thing, and then you go get trained, or you put yourself in the middle of the fire, and a lot of times that can hurt your clients. The two secrets about jury duty. One, how to get out of jury duty. Be very, very honest and upfront about your opinions. Don't overdo it, but share your opinions. So give those lawyers a reason to not pick you. And the only way to do that is to give them your honest opinions about the questions they ask. And the second thing is, typically jurors are numbered 1 through whatever the last number is. You're more likely to be on the jury if you have a low number. The sweet spot is 25, 26, 27, 28. That's the number you want as a juror.